So there were a few stops along the way to our first apartment in fugitive life. I was a fugitive with Susan Sachs, who in later years was arrested in Philadelphia and served time in prison. I'm gonna just give you a taste of what some of that was like. After a few weeks, the Weather Underground organization sent someone to help Susan and me settle into a furnished apartment in Baltimore. Every single thing in it was covered in dust, so we made our way to the nearby A&P and bought mops, brooms, and all the other things it takes to set up house from scratch. In the youth culture of those days, small acts of defiance, shoplifting among them, were celebrated as small blows against the machine. Our helper strolled the aisles of the grocery store, concealing shoelaces and a half dozen other miscellaneous unneeded items in coat pockets, blithely munching on a candy bar she had no intentions of paying for. I saw and I despaired that right that minute, my safety, indeed my very life, depended on someone who did not realize that the only way to live as an outlaw is to conform to every law. We were terrified one morning by a knock on the door, always ready for the door knock that might mean the end of things. It was only the cockroach spray guy. He would be coming every 3 weeks, he told us. We had an apartment that was just one big room with the sound of rats in the walls and the luxury of an absentee landlord that we didn't have to fool with phony mail. There was a stove but no kitchen sink, so we washed dishes in the bathtub. I got an office job at a place hawking flimsy, overpriced exercise equipment to hopeful, overweight women on late-night television. 2 gay guys had the apartment downstairs, and a 16-year-old runaway was staying with them. They invited us down for a party they were having, and we went. They were artistic. Their apartment was full of interesting stuff. Their friends were all gay guys. We danced and got stoned. One day, I was swimming at the YWCA with one of the women I worked with. We were enjoying ourselves when I saw Susan come out of the locker room. She walked across the deck and signaled me to come over to her. My alarms were not going off. I was sure there was an ordinary reason for what she was doing, even though it was unexpected. I swam over and she leaned down and spoke softly. "You have to come home right away. We have a problem." I made my excuses to my swim companion and climbed out of the pool, feeling another stab at ordinary living slipping away. On the way home, Susan filled me in. The young runaway had come upstairs to visit. "I know who you are," he had said, eyes alive with conspiracy. He thought it was cool that his upstairs neighbors were on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. He was excited to be meeting real outlaws. One of the guys downstairs was a portrait artist who had gone to buy stamps. He saw the wanted posters on the wall, and since studying faces was the whole point of his art, he immediately recognized that those women on the posters were living upstairs. They had been in his blue-lit living room the previous weekend for a party. He had told the runaway about his discovery, but told him not to say a word to anyone. They were just going to go on as if they had not discovered this. Like many other outsiders of that time, he identified with the outlaws. He was black and he was gay. The law was not his friend. Friend to the outlaws or not, there was no way a 16-year-old drama queen would keep this quiet. We were going to have to get out of town and fast. We packed what we could carry into 2 paper shopping bags with string handles and headed for the train station. We used a payphone to call the emergency number for our Weather Underground contact, and they told us to head north, so we did. I carried the Alice Metzinger papers at the bottom of that bag. I had to assume that ID had been compromised. I might never know. I imagined the FBI as a crafty opponent who might hold on to that little piece of information until I was lulled into complacency and used it. Then they would pounce.